Tonight's stories come from people who swore they saw something wearing their face during the quiet nights before Christmas. Across small towns, winter storms, and dark living rooms lit only by a tree. These encounters have been shared online by people who still can't explain what followed them, watched them, or tried to replace them. These aren't just Christmas horror stories. They're true doppelganger encounters, told by those who lived through them and still fear what might return when the snow begins to fall. So sit back, turn down the lights, and listen closely. Because if what they saw was real, something out there may be learning your face too. I used to love December storms, the kind that turn the whole street quiet and make the world feel smaller, as if your house is the only one still awake. But last Christmas, during one of those storms, something happened that changed the way I look at snow and at myself. It started 3 days before Christmas Eve. I was sitting in the living room around 11 p.m., scrolling my phone, when I heard someone softly singing outside my window. At first, I thought it was just a late-night caroler. It's a small town. People still do that here. The voice wasn't bad either. A little flat, maybe, but steady. The weird part was the song. They were singing a Christmas hymn my grandmother used to hum when she tucked me in as a kid. Not a popular one, something old-fashioned, barely recorded anywhere. I froze. My grandma passed away almost a decade ago, and I hadn't thought about that melody in years. I stood up and walked to the window, expecting to see a group in scarves and red gloves. There was only one person, and he looked exactly like me. He was wearing an old winter coat I used to own in college, the green one with the torn seam on the left sleeve. He had the same messy hair, the same posture, even the same stupid way I push my shoulders forward when I'm cold. I remember whispering, "What the hell?" He didn't stop singing. He didn't blink. He just stared straight at me through the glass, mouth moving a second too slowly for the sound I heard. Like the audio was slightly out of sync. I stepped back and grabbed my phone, but before I could take a picture, the singing stopped. My double turned around and walked into the dark like he'd always belonged to it. I barely slept that night. The next evening, he came back. This time he didn't sing. He just stood by the tree line across the yard, half hidden by the shadows, swaying gently like he was trying to mimic the movement of the branches. When I moved my arm, he copied it a second later. When I breathed out and fogged the window, he inhaled sharply as if taking the same breath. I called the police, not saying it was me, just that someone suspicious was hanging around. By the time they came, the figure was gone again, leaving only prints in the fresh snow. Footprints that stopped abruptly halfway across the yard, like he'd simply vanished. On the third night, I tried something different. I turned off all the lights and waited beside the window with my phone camera open. At 11:09 p.m., the singing returned. Only this time, it sounded wrong. Not just flat, broken, as if someone had heard the melody only once and was trying to reproduce it without understanding how human voices worked. Notes bent, words slurred. The rhythm staggered like a drunk trying to march. I lifted my phone and recorded. When my camera screen lit up the room, the singing cut off instantly. He was right up against the glass. His face was inches from mine, separated only by the cold pain. But he wasn't smiling or even looking at me. He was studying the room behind me. His eyes scanned everything, the couch, the bookshelf, the pictures on the wall, as if memorizing where things were, as if preparing to step inside and walk naturally through my home. I stumbled backward, and the thing opened its mouth wider than it should have been able to, like its jaw unhinged. No sound came out. It was just stretching, becoming ready. I don't know what made me run, but I bolted to my bedroom and locked the door. I sat on the floor, shaking, listening. I expected tapping on the window, footsteps outside, anything. Instead, there was silence. Too much silence. After half an hour, I forced myself to check the recording on my phone. The video showed an empty window. Completely empty. But I saw him. I know I did. And just as I was about to delete the file, I noticed something else. At the very end of the recording, my own reflection in the glass blinked, a full second after I had. I didn't go home for Christmas Eve. I stayed with my brother across town. But when I returned on the 26th, I found footprints in the snow around the house, matching my boots exactly. And on the porch, pressed into the frost on the window pane, was a shape that looked like a hand. My hand. The police said it was probably just a trespasser. But I know what I saw. And I know he's still out there somewhere. Learning me, practicing me, waiting for another December storm. This story starts with a photo we never took. It was December 22nd, around 8 p.m., and my mom was going through old Christmas albums to hang some nostalgia on the wall before our relatives arrived. I was sitting on the couch, half watching a movie, when she called my name with this confused tremble in her voice. "Did you take this?" she asked. I walked over. She was holding her phone, not an album. On the screen was a picture I had never seen. It showed my younger sister, Emily, standing in front of the Christmas tree in her red plaid pajamas. Morning light coming through the window. A small stack of opened gifts around her. Except we hadn't taken any Christmas photos this year yet. The tree was barely decorated, and the wrapped gifts in the picture didn't exist in our house. "What folder is that in?" I asked. "That's the thing," Mom whispered. "It wasn't here this morning." We tried checking metadata. The timestamp said December 25th, 7:14 a.m. 3 days in the future. My mom laughed it off, blaming cloud glitches. But she deleted the photo almost immediately, like the image itself bothered her. I can't blame her. There was something off about Emily's smile. Too stiff. Too rehearsed. I didn't think much of it until the next evening. On December 23rd, Mom found another photo. Same spot, same pajamas, same Emily, still smiling that weird too wide smile. Only now, small changes popped out. Her hair was a little messier. Her eyes weren't looking at the camera. They were looking slightly past it. And her left hand was placed on the present stack in a way Emily never rests her hand. The timestamp? December 25th, 7:15 a.m. A minute after the previous one. Mom swore she hadn't taken it. Dad swore he hadn't taken it. I knew I hadn't. We checked the phone logs. No cloud activity, no downloads, no edits. The pictures just appeared. Emily joked that it was future her sending selfies. But there was tension behind her laugh. I could see she was scared. By Christmas Eve morning, a third photo appeared. This time, the smile was gone. The figure that looked like my sister had a blank, almost curious expression. Her head tilted slightly to the right, the way you might tilt your head while trying to understand a new language. The timestamp? December 25th, 7:16 a.m. 1 minute after the last one. Another piece of a moment that hadn't happened yet. That night, none of us slept well. Our parents insisted we keep everything normal, dinner, movies, cocoa. But every time I glanced at Emily, she seemed quieter, like she was pulling inward. Around midnight, I heard soft movement in the hallway. I opened my door expecting her to be sneaking to the kitchen for cookies. Instead, she was standing completely still, facing the Christmas tree. Her pajamas were the same ones from the photos. Her posture wasn't. Her shoulders were too stiff. Her head leaned to the right. Her breath came out in slow, measured intervals. "Em," I whispered. She didn't look at me. She didn't look anywhere. She was copying the exact pose from the third picture. I took a step closer and realized something chilling. Emily was asleep. Her eyes were closed. Her mouth began curling into that unnatural, too wide future smile. I shook her awake, and she gasped like she'd been drowning. She had no memory of standing there. She broke down crying, saying she felt like something was watching her from inside her own skin. We slept in the same room that night. Christmas morning came. At 7:10 a.m., I checked the clock. Emily was still asleep on the floor next to me. No movement, no smiles, no poses. At 7:14 a.m., my mom screamed from the living room. We bolted out of the room together. She was holding her phone again. Another new photo had appeared. Only this one was different. The figure in the picture wasn't my sister anymore. It looked like her, but stretched, wrong, the eyes reflecting no light, the smile opened too far, as if tearing at the cheeks. Behind the figure, faintly in the background, was me, standing near the doorway, watching. The timestamp read, December 25th, 7:17 a.m., right when we entered the room. But I had never stood where the picture showed me. And the girl in the picture was not Emily. Mom dropped the phone. Dad unplugged the Wi-Fi. None of it mattered. Because that night, December 25th, Emily woke up screaming, saying she saw herself standing at the foot of her bed, leaning, smiling, whispering something she couldn't understand. She said the voice wasn't hers, and the smile was too tight to be human. We didn't take any Christmas photos that year. We haven't decorated since. And sometimes, Emily still wakes up with her head tilted just slightly to the right, like someone else is practicing how to wear her face. My family has a tradition we never talk about with outsiders. Not because it's embarrassing or anything, because it's strange. And after what happened last year, I'm starting to think it wasn't just a tradition. It was a warning. Every Christmas Eve, exactly at 11:55 p.m., someone in the family has to place a small wrapped gift under the tree alone. No one remembers when this rule started. My mom claims it was something her grandparents did. My dad says it comes from old mountain families. It doesn't matter. We all follow it. It was my turn last year. I was joking about it all day, saying stuff like, "Watch me get dragged into the fireplace," or, "If something whispers my name, I'm running." Everyone laughed, but I noticed my parents never laughed as much as they used to. Around 11:50 p.m., I took the small square box, just a token gift, nothing important, and headed to the living room. The lights were off except for the tree, which flickered warm and soft. The storm outside made the house creak like old bones. I sat on the floor, waiting for the time to hit 11:55. When the minute changed, I leaned forward and slid the little box under the lowest branch. And that's when I heard movement behind me. At first it was faint, like clothes brushing against carpet. I turned around, expecting to see Mom peeking from the hallway, making sure I wasn't messing with tradition. But the hallway was empty. Instead, someone was standing across the room, half hidden behind the recliner. I couldn't see the face, just a silhouette lit by the glow of the tree. I remember thinking the shape looked familiar. Shorter than my dad, taller than my sister. The figure didn't move, just watched. "Hello," I whispered. The silhouette stepped forward, into the light. It was me. Same hoodie, same sweatpants, same messy hair. Except the posture was wrong. Too upright, like someone wearing my skin didn't understand how my spine usually slouched. And the face, God, the face looked like mine, but with the expression smoothed out, as if erased. I scrambled backward, knocking over a stack of wrapped gifts. My double didn't react to the noise. It simply watched me with a strange focus, tilting its head slightly left. I realized it wasn't looking at me. It was studying how I moved. Learning, mimicking. It took another step. The movement was almost perfect, but not quite. Like watching a puppet copy a puppeteer with a half-second delay. "What do you want?" I whispered. My double blinked. Not naturally. Slow, deliberate, too heavy. Then it opened its mouth just a little. Not to speak. To breathe. A long inhale, the kind a person might take when smelling something they're trying to identify. The temperature in the room dropped, or maybe it just felt that way. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. I stood up, ready to run, but the double mirrored the movement, stiffly, like a glitchy reflection. Then it bent down toward the tree, like it was copying the act of placing a gift. Like it was practicing for next year. Practicing for my role. A crack of thunder shook the house, and all the lights flickered just for a second. When they came back, the double was gone. No footsteps. No sound. Just gone. Only one thing was different. The gift I had placed under the tree wasn't where I left it. Instead, in its place, there was another box. Same size, same wrapping paper, same bow. But the tag was different. Written in handwriting that looked almost like mine. But the letters were too sharp, too even. For me. I didn't open it. My family didn't ask questions. The next morning, I woke up to find the box gone completely. Later, my dad quietly checked the front door and every window, as if expecting something to be inside the house. When he finished, he just nodded to himself with this defeated expression. Like he knew this was coming. Like it had happened before. That night, while I lay in bed, I heard the faintest sound coming from the living room. The soft crinkling of wrapping paper. Slow, careful, like something was practicing again. Preparing. Waiting for the next midnight gift exchange. And this year, it's my turn again. My old neighbor, Mr. Alder, only told me this because he thought he'd die soon. That's what he said, word for word. A man shouldn't take his mistakes to the grave. Especially if someone else might repeat them. This happened last December, a week before Christmas. I lived next door to him for years, but he was the kind of quiet, rigid, elderly man who kept to himself. Shoveled his own driveway, never decorated, never accepted cookies from neighbors. The only unusual thing about him was this. He never opened his door on Christmas Eve. Not for family, not for deliveries, not for emergencies. I used to think it was just some grumpy tradition. But the night he finally told me why, I realized it wasn't a tradition. It was survival. It started when he was a teenager, living on a rural property 2 states over. His parents weren't around much, so on Christmas Eve, he stayed home alone. Sometime around 9 p.m., someone knocked on the front door. He thought it was his father, back early from a work trip. But when he peeked through the window, he saw himself standing on the porch. Same coat, same boots, same haircut. The only difference was the expression, this cold, patient smile that didn't reach the eyes. A smile that looked practiced, not natural. The double didn't knock again. It just kept smiling. Young Alder froze in place. He said it felt like staring into a mirror that suddenly decided to move on its own. After a few minutes, he backed away, locked every door, and hid until morning. Nothing happened the rest of that night. But the next Christmas Eve, it came back. Same time, same knock, same smile. And that continued for 14 years. By the time he turned 30, Alder thought the thing had lost interest. He hadn't seen it in 3 years. Then one night, there was a snowstorm, and he heard 3 slow knocks on the door. He made the mistake of looking out. His wife was standing on the porch. Her face was calm, her hair perfectly brushed. She wore her favorite winter coat, the one she had lost earlier that year. She raised her hand and knocked again, once, almost politely. He opened the door, just a crack. "Claire?" he whispered. She didn't answer. She just smiled slightly. Too slightly. He opened the door wider. His wife took 1 step forward. Alder swore that in that moment, he saw 2 things at once. The version of his wife standing in the snow. The real Claire inside the house behind him. Both existing simultaneously. He slammed the door in panic. When he turned around, the real Claire was gone. The house was silent. Her shoes remained by the rug. Her mug of tea was still steaming. But she wasn't anywhere. He never saw her again. When he finished telling me this, he stared at his hands like they were stained. "It took her place," he said. "But it wasn't complete. That's why it came for me next year. To finish the exchange." I didn't know what to say. I didn't believe him. At least, not until Christmas Eve. Around 9 p.m., I heard knocking next door. Slow. Deliberate. It echoed through the snow like someone hitting the side of a coffin. I looked out my window. There was a figure standing on his porch. At first I thought it was Alder himself. But then I saw the posture. Too straight, too rigid, like a mannequin learning how to imitate a real body. The porch light flickered and revealed the face. It wasn't Alder. It was Alder. But younger. Healthier. Unnaturally still. It stared at the door with a faint, eager tilt of the head. My neighbor didn't open it. I know because he called me 5 minutes later. "Don't look out your window," he whispered. "Don't acknowledge it. It knows when someone pays attention." I didn't listen. I peeked. The double turned instantly and looked directly at me. like it had been waiting for me to notice. Something in its movement made my stomach twist. It didn't turn like a human would, but pivoted sharply like a predator adjusting its aim. Then it took one step toward my house, just one, and stopped, as if saving the rest for later. Mr. Alder passed away last spring, peacefully according to the hospital. But 2 weeks ago, on December 1st, I found footprints in the snow outside my porch. There were only two, one leading toward my door and one leading away. And on Christmas Eve this year, someone knocked. 3 slow knocks. I didn't open the door. I didn't look outside. But I swear I heard my own voice whisper, "Let me in." My cousin never believed in the supernatural until the night the parade stopped. Every December, our town holds this huge Christmas parade. Floats, lights, marching bands, people in Santa suits throwing candy. It's corny, overcrowded, and honestly kind of chaotic. But it's a family tradition. Last year, my cousin Jason invited me to watch it with him because his parents were out of town and he didn't want to go alone. The parade was halfway through when it happened. Suddenly, the music cut out. Not faded, cut. All at once. The floats kept moving for a few seconds, like their operators hadn't realized anything was wrong. A giant Santa sleigh rolled past, lit with bright red lights, and in that silent moment the crowd looked like a paused video. Everyone frozen in place, waiting for sound to return. Jason nudged me. "You feel that?" I did. A pressure in the air, like the moment before a thunderclap. Then, as the sleigh float passed us, I saw something on the other side of the street. Jason. Same jacket, same beanie, same slight hunch in his shoulders, same small scar on his chin. Except Jason was standing right next to me. The second Jason stood motionless, staring straight ahead at nothing, while the crowd around him didn't seem to notice. His eyes were blank, not unfocused, not confused, just empty. I grabbed Jason's arm. "Look." He saw it, his face drained of all color. What the hell? Before he could finish, the lights on the float flickered. The music snapped back on, people cheered, and life resumed like someone hit play again. But the double was gone. Jason tried to laugh it off. "Maybe someone looks like me?" I didn't respond. No one looks that identical. After the parade, we walked home. Jason lived only a few blocks away, and since it had started snowing, we took a shortcut through a small gravel path behind the community center. Halfway down the path, I noticed footprints in the snow behind us. Not ours. Perfectly placed, evenly spaced, and following directly in our trail. As if someone were stepping exactly where we had stepped. Jason saw them too. He stopped breathing for a moment, We turned around. Nothing. The path was empty. But the next time we looked down, there were new footprints. One step closer. Jason whispered, "Don't look back again. Just walk." I don't know where he got that idea, but I listened. We walked fast, almost jogging. My heart hammered so hard I could hear it over the wind. The feeling of being watched grew heavier, colder, sharper. When we reached his house, we slammed the door shut and locked it. Jason collapsed on the couch, shaking. I tried to calm him down, but he kept repeating the same thing. It wasn't copying me. It was learning me. I stayed over that night, just in case. Around 2 a.m., Jason woke me up by grabbing my arm. "Someone's on the porch." We crept to the window, careful not to make noise. Jason pulled the curtain an inch back. Standing on the porch, facing the door, was the double. Same clothes, same stance, same everything. Except now it wasn't blank. It was smiling. Not a human smile. Something stretched too far, too thin, like it was testing facial movement for the first time. It didn't knock. It didn't try the handle. It just stared at the door as if waiting for permission. Jason whispered, "It followed us home." Then the double lifted its hand. Slowly, precisely, and pressed its palm against the window, right where Jason was standing on the other side, inches apart. Jason stumbled back. The double didn't move its hand. It kept it there, almost curious, like it was feeling the boundary between them. Then it leaned forward, pressing its forehead to the glass. The smile widened. The porch light flickered, once, twice, and then went out completely. When it came back on a second later, the porch was empty, but a perfect handprint remained on the outside of the window. Jason didn't sleep again that night. I wish the story ended there. But the next morning, Jason walked me to my car. As I left, he waved from the porch. And in the reflection of my rearview mirror, just for a second, I saw another Jason standing behind him in the doorway. Identical clothes, identical posture, no expression at all. Jason swears he's fine now. He swears he's alone in the house. But every time I visit, I notice the same thing. There are 2 pairs of footprints leading from his porch to the edge of the yard. One pair belongs to him. The other pair never matches his steps. My father used to say mirrors behave differently in December. He didn't say it jokingly or as some kind of Christmas superstition. He said it the way you'd warn someone about black ice on the road. Quietly, seriously, like it was a fact of nature. When I was a kid, I thought he was just being weird. He would cover every mirror in the house from December 20th to the 26th. Bathroom mirrors, hallway mirrors, even the microwave door. My friends used to tease me about it. I teased him too. But he only ever said one thing. Mirrors remember you. Reflections don't. I didn't understand what that meant until last Christmas. My father had been in and out of the hospital for months. On December 23rd, I went to visit him. He looked exhausted, not sick exactly, but worn, like he'd spent all night running from something. He asked me, "Have you covered the mirrors yet?" I told him I didn't do that anymore. He grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. "Don't look into them after dark," he whispered. "And if it looks back at you wrong, don't let it out." I laughed awkwardly and promised him I'd be careful, even though I didn't intend to do anything. He fell asleep mid-sentence, still clutching my wrist. I should have listened. That night, I stayed at his house to clean up and prepare for Christmas morning. By midnight, I was getting ready for bed. I went into the bathroom to brush my teeth, not even thinking about the uncovered mirror. I'd done this 1,000 times. But the moment I turned on the light, something felt off. The mirror didn't look blank or reflective. It looked attentive, like a second room opening up in the wall, waiting. I brushed my teeth quickly, trying to shake it off. But when I leaned down to spit into the sink, I noticed something move in the corner of my eye. My reflection hadn't leaned down with me. I froze. Very slowly, I lifted my head. My reflection lifted its head too, but too slowly, like it had to think about the motion before copying it. Its expression didn't match mine. Its eyes were slightly wider. Its breathing didn't sync with mine. Its mouth twitched at the corners, like a smile trying to break through. I whispered, "Dad." I don't know why. Maybe I wanted him to be wrong. The reflection whispered back, perfectly lip-synced, "Dad." Except I hadn't moved my lips at all. I ran out of the bathroom, slammed the door, and shoved a towel under it, like that would help. For the rest of the night, I sat in the hallway, lights on, trying not to look at anything reflective. At some point, I dozed off. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. to the sound of something tapping. It was coming from the bathroom. I thought it was the dripping faucet until the tapping stopped. Then started again, but slower, like fingernails on glass. I stood up, heart pounding. The bathroom door was slightly open now, just an inch, but enough for a line of darkness to spill into the hall. The tapping grew louder. I don't know why I didn't run. Maybe curiosity, maybe fear, maybe the stupid instinct to prove nothing was wrong. I nudged the door open. The mirror was fogged over, but there was a handprint on it, pressed from the inside. The fingers were too long. The palm was too narrow. The handprint slowly dragged downward, leaving streaks in the condensation. Then the mirror went clear. My reflection wasn't there. Just the empty room behind me. I stepped back in panic, and suddenly the reflection snapped into place, but not where I was. It appeared a full step closer to the mirror, like it had been mid-motion when I caught it. Its smile was wide now. Too wide. Skin stretched like a mask being pulled too tight. It raised its hand again, and the mirror surface rippled, like water disturbed by a fingertip. My father's warning hit me all at once. Don't let it out. I grabbed the first thing I could find, a towel, and threw it over the mirror. The reflection vanished under the fabric, but the towel pulsed outward for a moment, like something pushed against it from underneath. Then it went still. Completely still. I left the house at sunrise. At the hospital that morning, the nurse told me my father had passed away during the night. Quietly, peacefully. But I can't shake the timing. And last week, when I went back to his house to gather a few things, I found the bathroom mirror uncovered. I know I covered it. I tied the towel in a knot. Now it hangs open, and when I walk past it, I swear, for half a second, my reflection's smile lingers longer than mine, like it's waiting for December, like it remembers me, even if I don't remember it.